Now, economist and political commentator, author of 7 books, including More Guns, Less Crime, John Lott. Okay, John, more guns, less crime. That is counterintuitive. What does that mean?
Well, just as you can deter criminals with higher arrest rates or higher conviction rates, the fact that victims might be able to go and defend themselves can also deter criminals. I think police are extremely important. They're one of the, probably the most important factor. And unfortunately, I mean, we can talk about this, but Rahm Emanuel has cut the number of police. He's reorganized the police department in many ways that's made them much less efficient. The closure rate for murders in 2012 was 26%.
Yep.
That's abysmal. But, you know, when the police can't be there, it's important to let potential victims have the chance to defend themselves. And unfortunately, up until very recently, they've been essentially made very difficult for them to be able to.
All right, John, listen, your books, and you know, they've been bestsellers. I mean, this concept, and I do have your book, or I had it over there. No, I have it right here, More Guns, Less Crime. Are you suggesting that if more people had guns, that the criminals would be less likely to shoot people for fear that they had a gun too?
Sure. No, I mean, I'll just give you a simple example. Would you put a sign in front of your home that said your home was a gun-free zone? My guess is you wouldn't do that. I don't think anybody would do that.
And mine isn't, so.
Right. And the reason is obvious, is because, you know, if you put a sign like that, it would be an invitation for the criminals to go and attack you there. And the same is true with permanent concealed handguns. You know, unfortunately, the problem in Illinois is that it costs between $650 and $700 to go through the licensing process to get a permit. I mean, compare that to Pennsylvania, where I'm at right now, where it's $19. And the problem is that the people who benefit the most from having guns for protection are poor minorities who live in the high-crime urban areas. It's the very people who are most likely to be victims of violent crime who benefit the most from having to the option to protect themselves. But the way the Democrats have set it up in Illinois is that it's only the very wealthy who are able to afford the process to go and get guns for protection. You
know, one of the things that Congressman Davis just said before you, he said, you know, that they've had to cut back on police. You know, I was a sitting DA, and I ran a lot of task force and gun running task force and all that stuff. You know, you put your police in the areas that are most violent. I don't understand why there's this acquiescence in, well, you know, that's what happens in Chicago when people are poor. Do you buy that?
No, I mean, there are two things that happened. One, they did cut down the number of police by about 10%, but Rahm Emanuel also moved around the police. You had police who had certain high crime areas for a decade or a decade and a half who knew where the criminals were, who knew where the problems were, and were moved out of those to relatively safer communities.
Exactly.
You lost a lot of police experience that was there, and you just don't make that up overnight. Plus, they got rid of the gang task force that were there, so it's not too surprising that you see gang crime increased dramatically after that.
All right, John Lott, thanks so much for being with us. I couldn't agree with you more. The last thing you do is pull out law enforcement. And you know what? They should be ashamed of themselves. They're in the bottom of federal prosecutions for gun crimes. And as you say, they're not clearing these cases. And so coming up.